Now I'm gonna go over and do this stuff. Are you good? You are. Yeah.
No, she's, the live tube is on though.
I didn't see anything. She should be able to do it. Oh, anytime.
That's her, that's the medical center.
The problem is it bounces up and down.
Ready, go. We're ready.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for attending the New Town Council work session for Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. First item we have on the agenda is to discuss and act on an emergency town ordinance to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and visitors of the town, which are imminently imperiled by the unforeseen circumstances of large spike in the increase of COVID-19 cases in the town as reported by the Long Island Medical Center. Millie, do we have the doctor with us this evening?
Yes, you do. And he's with you.
Hi, Andre.
Good evening, doctor. Thanks for joining us this evening. Just wondering if you could give us an update on the current situation with COVID-19.
Sure, absolutely. Hello, everybody on town council and the public. So let's start off with some data. We've had 11 positive cases that we know of on the island over the past 10 days. We had yesterday, there were no symptomatic patients at the fire barn, and there was only one individual here at the medical center today. So 11 cases in the past 10 days. The state continues to do their variant sampling, and this last data set showed out of 4,374 samples, by far and away, 1,400 of those samples have the Alpha or the UK variant. The Delta variant continues to be a smaller player in our state as compared to some other states in the United States at only 418. So 1,400 of them are Alpha variants and 418 of the Delta variant in our particular state. The upside to that is the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, which are the predominant vaccinations here on the island, are holding up extremely well against that. And the third one that's most prevalent would be the Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccine is holding up against the Alpha variant quite well. Moderna and Pfizer hold up the best against the Delta variant comparatively to Johnson & Johnson, but I'll speak about the boosters in a second. The Rhode Island case data continues to rise. If we go back historically, August 1st, we were at 85 per 100,000 from a population standpoint. And as of 2 days ago, we were at 202 per 100,000. So it's definitely almost a threefold increase in the past month. Some real positives is that our 7-day positive rate last week was 3.6%. And this week it's only 3.4. So hopefully we've hit some type of a plateau. I wouldn't say it's a downturn, but it's good news, but continue to stay alert. The other really positive news is the breakthrough cases among fully vaccinated Rhode Islanders. Right now, there's 622 plus thousand Rhode Islanders fully vaccinated and only 3,100 breakthrough cases. That's only 0.51%. So again, 1/2 percentage point of those that are fully vaccinated have had a breakthrough case. So vaccines work. So if you haven't considered a vaccine, please do so. Some other trends that we're seeing is the Block Island data comparatively to a neighboring area of Narragansett. Our cases per 100,000 population is up 19% compared to Narragansett, which is up only 2% in this last round of evaluation. So it's in our community. Continue to stay vigilant. Some new information from the Fire Barn status is that Tuesdays and Thursdays and some Saturdays remain opportunities for testing, but the new protocol will be PCR testing only for individuals that are asymptomatic. If somebody shows up at the Fire Barn with symptoms, they will do a rapid test, but only for those demonstrating symptoms. Prior to that, they were often doing both a rapid and a PCR. So there's a slight change there. Just wanted the community to be aware. PCRs will be the dominant testing unless you have symptoms. And as always, continue to sign up at vaccinateri.org. And they do take walk-ups overall. We still remain in that high transmission category. So we do want to speak a little bit about vaccine boosters. As many are aware that August 12th, the FDA amended the emergency use authorization so that Pfizer and Moderna can be used as booster shots. Right now, there's insufficient evidence to support any additional dosages of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine for immunocompromised individuals. But right now, if you're being actively treated for a solid tumor or other blood cancers, you've received the solid tumor transplant, you have moderate or primary immunodeficiencies, or untreated or advanced HIV, and a few other conditions, you are in a category that is considered immunocompromised and are eligible for either Moderna or Pfizer boosters. And you can continue to do that through the state mechanism that we have at the Fire Barn. Our EMA director may speak a little bit further to that. He has been in contact with the state. We are offering our logistical support. We may have to do something similar that we did in the wintertime if we get to that critical mass for the booster. But otherwise, right now, we should be able to handle boostering through the Fire Barn mechanism for those that are immunocompromised currently. They're still finalizing the data on whether or not somebody is eligible for a booster if they're 6 months or 8 months after their second dose. So stay tuned for more individual commentary on that. But overall, vaccines are working. Our 7-day positivity rate has plateaued. We had 11 cases over the past 10 days. Alpha variant is considered still the dominant variant for us, and we've had a slight bump as compared to some neighboring towns.
Thank you, Doctor. Council, any comments? Questions from Marlo?
Doctor, how many people were tested last week and this week?
We continue to test between the medical center and the Fire Barn. Each week, we're more in that totality between the Tuesday, Thursdays, and us in that 150 range. 150 individual people.
So it's basically staying about steady right now.
Correct. We're getting a good steady flow of individuals. We're testing a fair amount of people here based on certain symptoms, whether or not they feel like it might be COVID related or not. A lot of GI symptomatology is showing up as compared to respiratory that we saw early on in this process. So we're being highly vigilant on our side. And I know that the EMA team is doing a great job.
Doc, what happens with these 11 positive cases? What's the protocol for them? Quarantine?
We still have that quarantine and isolation protocol. All of them, but one that I'm aware of, were vaccinated. So I think that's part of our new normal state, is that we're getting breakthrough cases from those individuals from a variety of vaccines. Those individuals that feel like they've been exposed, quarantine. Those individuals that we know have it, isolate. And unlike last year, where you may have been in contact with somebody, if you're fully vaccinated, you do not need to quarantine. That's a big difference comparatively to last year. And that's the value of getting vaccinated. You have a measure of protection. That's going to be very important with the school. I've spoken with Ms. Manji, and I know between them and their health staff, they have a good plan in place for exposures and how the schools are broken up in the pods. So I think they have a good solid plan.
I just have a couple of questions, Dr. Workup. So, one is, I don't know what to make of the relatively low number of Delta variants in Rhode Island. No, in other words, I'm not sure whether that's good news or whether it means that the wave hasn't hit. You know what I mean? Because Delta has hit so hard in other parts of the country, I think it's probably inevitable that it hits hard here. So when I read that, I'm thinking, is that wave about to hit us? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think you could look at it as a positive. The top 5 states that are hit are clearly states that were late adopters to the vaccination pushes overall. I think if 622,000 have been fully vaccinated in this state, it's up to 750,000 plus or minus that have had at least one vaccine. And in a state of, let's say, approximately 1 million people, those are the eligible individuals. So if you pull out the 11-year-old and unders, there's a very high percentage of those in the state that have been fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated. I think one way we could interpret the data is that by the time that wave has come up to us, we have a pretty high density of vaccinations in our state compared to those late adopting states, both by population, obviously by geographic size, and that's a positive. I'm looking at it as a positive. We want to continue to close that vaccination gap. If you haven't been vaccinated, please do so. There's really no scientific evidence to speak about not doing it. I know it's a personal choice, but we have members of our population that can't get vaccinated, or you don't get to choose how somebody else reacts to a breakthrough case, such as an older individual. So please do it for the community and protect yourself as well.
What do you think about what do you think would be the impact of, say, a short-term mask mandate over, say, Labor Day weekend, when we know we have an influx of thousands of people, an indoor mandate?
I think it continues to be one of the strongest tools in your toolbox when it comes to avoiding spread. So I think if we want to keep that breakthrough numbers at 0.5% in our numbers, specifically in our state, that have gone from 85 per 100,000 earlier in the month to 202 plus as of today, that's a significant, strong move. Vaccination from Thursday doesn't necessarily help you this weekend, but masks clearly work. And I was actually looking at something today from the American Academy of Pediatrics to make sure that I had the most up-to-date version from their academy, and mask mandating on their part, or mask wearing for children, is by far and away safe, effective, and they are really pushing that therapy for any child above 2 years old.
Go to Jim, comment?
I just wanted to give an update, as Dr. Walkup said, I spoke with the Department of Health today, Travis and Brittany Bates, who's been our liaison. They're hoping for, as the doctor said, it's available for those that are compromised, but the booster shot to roll out, they're hoping at the end of the month, however, exact time and date is, well, that hasn't been set, that's what the hope is, but in the meantime, I've gotten some inquiry from people about the booster, getting a little anxious about its
Excuse me,
availability.
Bill, you're not gonna be picked up by anybody listening, you're not going to.
I'm sorry, I should have asked.
I'll talk about it if you want, but I don't want to. So anyhow, the bottom line on this is, we are working, we're working with the Department of Health, we have it set up. That, as Dr. Walkup said, we're gonna try to utilize the fire alarm, that system is working out well, they're sending out the DMAT. By us doing that, this will keep some of the pressure off the medical center, resource-wise. However, we are going to help with logistical support, whether that be the parking facility, whether it be some police officers, whatever we need. Similar to like when we did the vaccination down in Legion Way, we'll help with that and work together with them. But I think I guess the bottom line on this is I want people to rest assured that the state has not forgot us. We're in the planning stage. We're going to have it all in place. So when the vaccinations do become available for that group, we are in the loop. We'll be ready to go and we'll implement it right away. So I'm comfortable that that we have a plan, and I believe it's going to work out well.
And I'll have posted through our media feeds by tomorrow, the FDA additional vaccines for immunocompromised, if anybody would like to look at, if you're on that immunocompromised list. If you have any doubts, please speak with your medical team. But those you can get through the Fire Barn right now, Pfizer and Moderna. There is, again, there's insufficient evidence about anybody who's already gotten the Johnson & Johnson. There's no evidence to support getting a second Johnson & Johnson at this stage, but please stay tuned. We'll have that information out as soon as the FDA puts it out.
Yes, like I said, I want to also acknowledge the Department of Health. They've been very instrumental in working with us, with that DMAT team, and bringing the resources out here. And I just think, I'm grateful for that. I think it's worked out well, and hopefully this partnership will continue through the winter. So, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Sanders, comment?
Yeah, just real quick, Lars, you guys have been working on some signage that was going to go outside of the chamber about mask wearing. And Bill, you had talked about putting or there was a discussion about putting the lit up sign near the ferry, just encouraging people that Block Island's a mask friendly town, or encourage them to wear a mask indoors. Can you guys just give us an update as to where those are, if they are? Through the mic if possible.
Thank you, Mom.
We have been tasked by the medical center, and Lars Clemson from the Block Island Chamber. We have been tasked by the medical center and the town council to come up with some signage that encourage people to wear masks. It's Block Island, thanks you for wearing a mask while indoors. We put out a notice to our members to come by and pick up those posters, which they did. We've also ordered some large posters for our building and anybody else that may want them, to continue this process of education about wearing masks indoors throughout the rest of the season.
Can those large ones for the chamber be available this weekend?
They are coming as we speak.
So you'll have them posted as people get off the boat?
Correct.
As they come to the chamber?
Correct.
Thank you.
And the smaller version is posted now.
Thank you. So what about interstate and the backlit sign encouraging masks? Is that possible for this weekend?
Well, that's not our sign, but it's possible we can work something out, put one up. We'll talk about that. We just, Josh just wanted to review what the wording is going to be, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. So in the past, the police department came down and set it up and so forth. So glad to work with anyone that wants to put up. We just want to, move on to the wording. I don't anticipate that.
I would be, I said this before, I'd be very much in favor of that, especially a little bit to Keith's point. As people are coming on the island, I want them to be very aware and And I would, I mean, if that's something that the police department can interface with you and get that done for Fridays, big travel days, that would be great. At least it's my thing. More awareness, the better.
I think it can't be anything but everybody's point of view.
Right.
But I just happen to think it's not enough. I mean, if at this point, at this point, if you're not wearing a mask indoors, a sign that says, thank you so much for, making police wearing a mask, I don't think it's particularly effective. So, I mean, what I think we should do is, even if it's just for a week, from now until our next meeting post Labor Day, I think we should have an indoor mask mandate.
Lunchtime, lunchtime.
I do want to point out there's a number of people who see that sign coming into our office and they step back out and put on their mask. It's like 90%. And we have to remind other people to see that. It is an effective tool.
And why don't you sit in that corner so you gotta go back up?
I guess in my point of view, Keith, I hear you. Having been in the store a lot, like ours, there are a lot of people who ask about putting masks on. We have a sign, they know about masks, but if they're coming from the outdoors and they're going indoors in our store, they have to be reminded that the signs have help. I think this is a discussion that we need to have at a very large level and bring in a lot of people from the island, but I'm always worried about an enforceable, we've been down this road, an enforceable effort, and I think that I definitely want to do the education. I guess right now, I think I weigh on let's do everything we can to make sure people follow their best ethics. That's my belief.
Thank you, Sam.
Could I just offer an observation
Wonderful.
that, the people that I've seen this, week that days, one of the things that seems to be really increasing are the masks on children. And someone I talked to today said something that I think is impacting a lot of people, and that's getting kids back in school. And they want to get their kids back in school, they want to get their kids in college, they have certain things that they have to meet, and they're not taking, and somebody today said we're not taking any chances. And I think that is working in our favor. Yeah, and like Sven said, we went through this a year ago, and the enforceability is, it can cause more. We've seen it. It can be detrimental. Result.
There's a lot of stuff that a lot of ordinances we have that are, ineffectively enforced. And I'm just curious about what I just don't quite understand the enforceability of this.
Well, this is what I got from the police last summer, what I saw from people last summer. I think it's the people who were here this summer, at least my experience has been, the people who were here this summer are back to the last summer, what was, I think is going to prove to have been, I hope, hopefully will prove to have been an anomaly. And people are behaving that way. I think it's sense that I think people are outside, they forget about the mask. I do it all the time. When I walk in the grocery store and I have to go back out. My father, to be honest. And one thing that we don't have here that they have other places is the definition of what's enclosed. Nantucket has 50 places, windows on two sides are still open, they're not enclosed. And I think some of the places here are much tighter than others, and those should really be health retire, they should all, they all know it. I do believe they all know it. I understand what you're saying, Keith. I just, yeah, having been through it last year, I just don't see a practical. I think we're trying to achieve something, and we can have a lot of arguments down there in the dock, or else we can set a better example and hopefully get better results. Yeah, I'm done, thank you.
Doctor, are you still there with us?
I'm here.
Thank you so much. Martha brought up the children, and so you said earlier that vaccinated people do not have to quarantine. That is correct, right?
That's correct.
Okay, but if vaccinated people are testing positive, then can't they still spread?
Well, yeah, thank you for letting me clarify. If you're test positive and you've been vaccinated, you have to quarantine. If you've been in contact with somebody who is positive, but you yourself have been vaccinated, you do not need to quarantine under the newer rules. Last year, if you came in close contact within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, you yourself had to quarantine. So this is where parents of children that might turn positive, if the children turn positive, the parents, if they're fully vaccinated, do not have to quarantine within the house. So it does give a lot of latitude for those individuals. I would say from a medical standpoint, masks work. And I think there's no denying that. And I think it is difficult to, I like to enjoy our community like anyone else, and it is disappointing sometimes indoors who you don't see wearing masks. And I think anything that encourages people to wear masks is one way to keep this really slow trickle for our community, 10 here, 6 there, 4 there, 10 there, of just continuing to pester our community. And I think with the kids going back into school, I think they have a wonderfully good plan, but it's an opportunity.
Can we talk about that for 1 second, of the kids going back to school? Because I just want you to clarify, like say a normal high school with high school kids and the age that kids can get vaccinated. So could you just break that down into simple terms, like between grades? Like I understand what confuses me is that we have high school kids that can be vaccinated and lower grade kids that can't be vaccinated, but there's a gray area for me in the middle grade. So can anybody answer what age that would be in the school?
That for mask wearing?
For vaccinations.
Yeah, so anybody 12 and older can get vaccinated. And so as I've spoken with the school, they've just mandated everybody in the school is going to be wearing a mask, because it's hard to control those that are vaccinated walking through other areas where kids are not vaccinated. I think they've chosen to take a more conservative approach, which is terrific, which is protect the younger children. And so while they're in the building, they're wearing a mask. They have done a nice job of separating them into pods so they can more socially interact with each other. Similarly that they did last year, with a little bit of refinement this year. And I think they have a terrific plan. So anybody 12 and older can get vaccinated currently.
So that's, okay, thank you so much. Okay, so this is one of those things that we, Martha, myself, have spent bandwidth for over a year and a half. And I see, Doctor, one more question. We have the data that you see on Block Island. Can you, since the last time we met, or since there's been an increase in cases, so you said there were 11 in 10 days last week.
That's correct. So the previous 7 days, or so this last 10 days, we've had 10 cases, 11 cases, including today. The previous 7 days, we only had about 6. We go through periods of time, maybe several days in a row, where we don't have any, but there always seems to be about 10 cases per week. And those are the ones that we know of. If of the PCR tests that go out from the fire barn that go directly to the state directly would communicate to a positive, and we wouldn't necessarily be able to count that in our data because they wouldn't communicate with us.
Okay, so, since there's been an increase, can you tell us how many cases, say since July, I guess, have been on Block Island, and how many that relates to last year?
I could get you the number for sure, but off the top of my head, I would say we've had at least 40 cases
This
since
year?
July, and it's more than matched what we had all last year.
Okay. So when the state talks about these numbers per 100,000, and you gave us the data in our package, in our email about what that actually meant for Block Island, and could you just break that number down to layman's terms? Like, I don't quite understand what per 1,000 is for Block Island. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have 100,000 people here.
Right, so then if you would just break it down, it would be 20 cases per 10,000 people, and then keep going from there. 2 cases per 1,000.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so with that, does the public have any comment?
I one clarification. This is Martha again. When are we talking about cases, or are we talking about positive tests?
Yes,
No, we talk, which?
yeah, positive tests for each unique individual.
Okay,
So we've had 11 positive COVID tests on 11 individual patients that we know of in the last 10 days. If there are PCR tests that are positive, which my suspicion is that there would be, we wouldn't have that in our data. That's between them, the patient, and the state of Rhode Island.
Why the heck don't we get that? That was. Yeah, I know, I understand that. Why can't we get that information?
I'm sorry, if that was a question, I couldn't hear you, Martha.
But the question was simply that if DOH has this information, why aren't we getting it?
Privacy. I'm sure we could call and request it. I'm sure they have that data, but they're under no obligation to communicate with the medical center regarding any cases they get.
I'm not talking about individual names, numbers.
Yeah, I can certainly inquire. It's a bureaucracy. I'm sure I could gather those numbers for you if that would help the decision making.
Send Bill if we need to know the bureaucracy. They just give up and give them the numbers.
Based upon that, is it fair to say that we may have significantly more positive cases than our data have indicated all along?
We don't have any people
Hold
watching
on, that's the question.
Yeah, and based upon that, what you were just explaining to us, Dr. Warkup, is it fair to say that we may well have significantly more positives than we were aware of?
Yes. The 11 cases that I reported are just the ones that we know about.
But Dr. Orthoff and I guess Keith, the consistent database has been what's been going on at Fireflies or what's been going on at the medical center. So, I mean, that's at least a straight running number. If, I would say, Springhouse is testing, they announced that they were doing it, right? And at that meeting, we talked about this a little bit. But if they announce that, then they can do that testing. At least there have been significantly more people going to the fire department over the last month than there were 3 months ago. Right? So there's been an increase of people participating, and I think that's a good, consistent run.
Well, I suppose that's true if you look at it from one statistical perspective, but from another, it means that we don't have 11 cases, we have more than 11 cases.
But if you don't, in that same sense, you don't know there are only 250 people who are fire department, there are more than 250. So, I mean,
Right.
there could be more.
I mean, I think you're making my case that there are more people than that getting tested. So even if we use the same numbers, even if there's 250 people who are getting tested but aren't at the fire barn, and you use the same numbers, we have
No, there are 200 people getting tested, not the fire, that's the number getting tested at the fire.
How do you know?
That's what Dr. Walker said.
No, you're talking about, there are businesses that are doing their own testing and we don't have access to whether and how many positives.
That's what the DBAZ said at the time.
Right. And he's not the only.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure. I guess from my point of view, and I know Andre started, I think we need to do as good a job as we can of communicating to people about wearing masks, and I've said that a couple of meetings. In my opinion, a mandate, sure, if that's what people really want to do, I don't think it's going to be any more effective because I don't think it's fully enforceable. I think we need to bring businesses in, we need to bring people in that have the buildings, that have these indoor conditions, we need to talk about it. I mean, and if we're really talking for a week, that seems to me a very, that doesn't seem like a long-term solution. So if we want to have a discussion on mask mandates, then let's have a meeting and make sure everybody can be here when they're aware of that. But in my opinion, I just think for this weekend, I want to increase education.
Thank you, sir. Public? Anything else? Charles? Harold Hatfield III, could you step up to the
Testing that was going on at the sewer company, that's what we're going on. And how those numbers
I can work up, what was just asked was the testing at the sewer company, and can you just give a brief overview?
That testing has stopped.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't have any additional data. That program was stopped under the federal free program. You'd have to now pay for it for each test. I think it's in the order of $750 per sample.
When wasn't it going on for a while?
It was,
Like up in the last month?
I think it was a 6 or 8 week period of time. And
Yeah, really oscillated between 3 samples ago being 100% more than we've ever had. Then it dropped down to 10%. Then it went up to 66%. So it really varies. And I think it just speaks to the one way to interpret it. It's the individuals coming onto the island, the ebb and flow of it.
which is kind of my point. Ben Williams. Joe, you good? Anybody else have any comment on the topic? All right, so my comment on this is simply this. We, the three of us, have been through this, and we were always guided by the doctor's professional opinion. And I think the doctor has been telling us for the past 3 or 4 meetings, masks work. And I'm not going to base decisions, and I've said this before, I'm not going to base my decisions on this other than advice from our professional staff on the subject. What I've heard, I have spoken to some of them in the community business, the smaller businesses and whatnot. And from what I hear is that education is all fine and great, but nobody's here to get educated. You can put that in there when you do it, but you can't trust anybody. You can say you'd like to wear a mask or like to be vaccinated, but if someone walks in that's not vaccinated, you know, it's on the business model. And I know that some of the business owners do comply, not comply, but they wear masks in their shops for that same reason. I think we are at a point right now where we have a lull in cases, and it would be a good time to do an indoor mask requirement ordinance. Because I have a feeling, as Pete points out, things are going to only get worse. I've looked at the data from last March and last October, and we're far exceeding both those spikes in our cases on the island. Now, I am concerned about the kids in the school. I read a great article today that the best way to protect the kids is to build a wall of vaccinated people around them. So I think if we have a mask ordinance we at least are doing our part during a public health crisis, which it still is, to protect our community, to protect the most vulnerable, as the doctor said, which are the children going to school. If they would protect us, they would protect employees and businesses from losing these employees and having to close. I've seen a lot of that this week. I don't know if COVID is the reason, but you know, the staff shortage on Black Island is immense, and I don't think any of us, our staff or our workforce, can be out during this time. Other things I've heard from the business community is that it's too much on the business owners to police. I think there's more of a, there's no better deterrent to add a sign that says you need to wear a mask indoors. No, it's not voluntary. I think that would get more compliance out of people. I don't want to put, as again, I don't want to put a burden on my police force, on our police force on this. But I fear that we are, not we, we're very careful, but I'm very fearful that we're not taking the medical advice that's given to us. And or we're diluting it with, I know a lot of people just want to finish the summer. But I do think that as the weather gets warmer, as what happened last year, people are going to start going inside, and this is the enclosed spaces, where people, small places in enclosed spaces, where the windows are closed, and we had that issue last year with our cases, and we're already be more than that this year. I would support a mask mandate at this moment. I would say that, again, my opinion is based on the medical advice from the medical center, and I'm not going to take advice from Facebook or anybody else who just won't, you know, comply, doesn't want to comply, jab dogs, if you call them. I think we need to protect this community, and I think we have a lot of people like our elderly who have been shut in for the past year and a half. I think of them when I make these decisions also. I think there's a whole lot of things to take into consideration here, but I think as a fundamental role sitting up here is to protect the health of the community. And there's vulnerable people that can't get vaccinated in this community. And the doctor has told us a few times now that masks work, and that's where I feel about that. I would support an indoor mask ordinance at this time. I don't think I put a date on it because we just don't know. I think we have an opportunity to stop the spread, stop the you know, where we didn't have any cases this week. I think the plateau, as the doctor called it. If we can work on that and stop that and hold back its tracks, I think we've done a big benefit to the community. Those are my thoughts on it, and I know it's not popular, but it's the medical advice that I'm giving, and I'm not going to get my advice on this topic from, you know, really anybody else, because they're the professionals. So with that being said, does anybody have any comments on it? No.
I think it's unfortunate it wasn't supposed to, that you're going to be doing the mask ordinance. I think we're right back to where we were with the businesses. I feel like, hey, listen, we want to be heard and so what on it. I think if the council's going to go forward with this, I think you should probably have a meeting. We could have an urgent meeting in 2 days and allow the people that are going to be stakeholders on it to be heard.
But I do think that we've heard from so many people since we've been posting this. We came in with we had, I think you were there at the meeting, we had business owners to come out and tell us how they felt on it. I respect that. I went on the road and spoke to other people, smaller business owners. And this is the way I think a lot of them support that. I think a lot of them are parents that don't want to get sick. I don't think they want to sit there. I think they want to have I think they want their clientele to come in and wear masks, but I think a lot of them are waiting for us to say it. Because they don't want to be the person that's saying it to the customer for a confrontation. what I'm saying to you tonight, Bill, is that I don't mind saying that as the government entity. I don't like saying it. Because I think it's effective, and it's the medical advice that we're giving.
I'm not saying I'm against mass limits, what I'm saying is, I think you should have all the stakeholders involved that are gonna be affected by it, that's all.
The most important stakeholders to me are the people who keep it.
That's it.
You know,
I understand,
I mean,
but it was
really,
not-
I
understand,
get that the spring house was upset. We have noticed it. It's been noticed for nearly every meeting since that one.
But you know, the notice was very generic, and so when you had the same notice you had for over a year ago. Like I said, I don't want to, I'm not against mass, I'm just saying, I think that it should have been posted, so you have the people involved that can come and voice, that's all.
Well,
Just for the council's benefit, 'cause at
I
the
know,
end
but
of the day,
I feel as though it's been posted many times, and we've had a discussion many times.
I would, if we're gonna have a vote on amending, I would love to see if we can have a meeting where it's very clear what the agenda topic is. And I know you can argue it's been posted, most people read this, but it's been there so often and so long that it's more updates. I think if we're gonna have a serious discussion, we want input, kids, to keep point, small businesses, big businesses, medical. I'd be up for a meeting if we need to do that on Friday. Or as soon as we can. I think we can probably, I don't know if we have to stick to the 40-hour rule given it's an emergency, but I think from a process point of view, it would be great to be very inclusive and get the community to be part of this, versus pushing it down. That's my point.
But we've got the reality that it's Wednesday and this is Labor Day weekend. And I don't understand why any business owner has to have the government tell them that they have to enforce a mask ordinance. That is just, I'm sorry, that is the ultimate cop-out. Oh, I can't do it because the government didn't tell me I had to do it. What happened to personal responsibility in this country?
You're exactly right. You're absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
I'd like to go a little further. To Martha's point, is that one person indoors? So at the mill, if there's one person, they have to wear a mask? Is it two? I mean, at what point, we go back to the mower in the field?
No, you don't have to go back there. We're talking about indoors. So yes,
I know that.
one person in your mill would have to wear a mask.
So one person preparing food alone in the food truck. Okay. Yeah, that's what you're saying. I think that's a little, that's okay, that to me is very.
Well, the normal prepared food.
Yeah. You think it's one person indoors, that's very.
I think an indoor mask ordinance, I think you know what an indoor mask ordinance is. I think you know what an indoor mask is. That's all I'm gonna say.
Molly, can I ask a question? Just a procedural question, for Marion. Do we have to abide by the 48-hour notice for this discussion, or is it still considered,
I think you're in a gray area.
Bob, or something? Bob, or something?
You can declare an emergency to protect the public health and have a meeting within the 48-hour rule. Yeah. She is in and she can speak.
Kathy, can you hear us?
Maybe she turned it right on.
Kathy's in the meeting. She can invite you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I'm here.
Did you hear the question from Keith, Kathy?
That I could not hear.
well, I mean, I think under our charter, we can declare an emergency where public health is.
You can do that under the ordinance and as well under the open meetings law.
Steve, I don't think this is an emergency. I think that we have this on. I think we had all the input that we had input on this. And I just think that, obviously, I think Keith and I are on the same page here. I mean, what kind of more input do you think that you're gonna get that's gonna change your mind to go against what the doctor is telling us? I mean, public input is public input, so the doctor's input to me is paramount in this situation, that's why. So I kind of feel like you may just be looking for another meeting, so you have a backup to people, so you have got good reason to go against medical advice, because you'll have the public input and say, well, the public has spoken. I'm listening to the doctor. You have a comment?
I'm sorry, I think that was addressed to me.
It was addressed to you.
Yeah, I can answer it. I think very clearly, Andre, that I want to hear from the public to be represented. And I'd like to be inclusive, and I'd like to have an open meeting about it. In my mind, if I won't pitch it, fine. I think the more we can include people in any decision making, the better. And I don't see a harm in that. We can have a meeting tomorrow night. It's 24 hours. I mean, if we can do that, I don't see why that would change anything. I think it would increase inclusivity. And that's I think very important in government. So that's why I'm not going to get biased or change. Maybe I would probably learn and listen, and I'd be informed. So that's why I think it's correct.
But I think you haven't been informed on this topic enough to be able to make a decision.
Yeah, wait, guys, the doctor has been saying this all along, right? And suddenly you decided now you're going to pass ordinance.
The doctor's words haven't changed in a few months.
No, they have not.
I wanted to move it at our last
I
meeting.
know.
It wasn't. So, you know,
But it was previously.
I don't think that's fair to say that. I think.
It's true. I said true.
I don't think it's fair to say that. I didn't mean that was on our agenda last time. I did think it was illegal. I mean, but I'm looking at the data going across different states. I'm looking at the data in our own state, and I'm looking at the data coming out of line. Right now, right, we're in a good spot. I'd like to keep it there. I don't want to look back in a month or so and say, we could have done something about this. Something that the doctor is actually advising us to do, and we did nothing, and something hits the fan. Like, that's how I feel. So I just don't think it's been out all of a sudden, because it's not all of a sudden. I did take into consideration of the businesses I own. And yeah, it's an indoor mask ordinance to protect people from a dangerous disease. And
I just want to say, I totally get where Sven is coming from and where Mark is coming from. This is at best blunt force. It is not pretty. There are problems with enforcement. You know, I'll stipulate to all those things. We also, you know, on a personal level, I have a 1-year-old granddaughter who I worry about a lot when it comes to this. We have a lot of under 12-year-olds who we want to have as undisrupted as possible school year. We have an influx of people. I know the Rhode Island numbers are good, but even when you take those numbers and you sort of multiply them out across a ferry that has 1,000 people on them, there are a lot of people coming to the island who are not vaccinated. And very few of them are wearing masks. It's just, the numbers are very compelling on this. So,
Dr. Warcock, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you tell me the number of people under the age of 12 that have been positive positive cases under the age of 12 on Block Island?
We have had, they were mostly over the winter months. I can get you some good numbers, but there hasn't been any recent.
So there haven't been in the last 6 months or so, there haven't been any recent cases under 12. Is that what I heard?
No, there definitely has been those under 12 in the last 6 months. They were clustered more towards the winter months and early spring. We haven't had any in the recent 4 weeks, but I can get together some numbers to give you some real accurate numbers. And if I could just add, it's not my place, but if we're going to add constituents to come in and testify, if we could remember the senior community to come in and testify, and maybe we can let the American Academy speak for the pediatric population.
Thank you, Dr. Stanley. Thank you. That was your question. Thank you.
Do you have a comment?
No more. Sorry.
I'm not a business owner, but I run a business on the island, and I think it would be very helpful to have a mask mandate at this time, just to provide consistency for everybody and to avoid this, especially we have a sign up that says if you're vaccinated, you don't need one, if you're not vaccinated, you need one. It would be simpler right now, I think, with the increasing cases that we're clearly seeing, to have a mandate. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna, if there is one, we'll put up a sign that says mask required anymore. I'm not gonna try to police it, but I think most people who see that sign will put on a mask. So I think it would be a good idea. And further, I agree with you, Andre, that we've already had this discussion multiple times with the business community, and I think it's perfectly appropriate for you guys to make that decision now.
Thank you. Lars?
I just have a question on practicality. Do you have any sense of whether the businesses have enough mask inventory to cover their employees and to maybe give a mask out to anybody that comes into the business that doesn't have one?
I think maybe Dr. can answer that, or you can answer that, because they were procuring masks from us last year.
The EMA was procuring masks when they weren't available. Now that they're available, they're having businesses purchase their own. So there are no masks that are being distributed like they were 6 months ago. That was basically because the supply and demand.
So, does that answer your question? I mean, doctor, do you have masks to pass out?
I'm sorry, we could procure more pretty quickly from the repository that's up in Johnston. We could inquire tomorrow. Would there be a number that you'd be looking for?
I don't know. It depends on
Several hundred, as many as we can get.
Yeah.
And I just sent the town council an email on the age breakdowns and the state.
Okay. So thank you, doctor. So with that being said, I did, obviously this is not I don't come to this conclusion without thinking a lot. And it came up that in my mind that weddings and whatnot, I would be happy to exclude weddings in March family gatherings that are already pre-planned. Because doctor, I did speak to the doctor about, doctor, can you, it seems as though a lot of these folks are very vigilant in caring about the situation in weddings, and it's mostly family members. And I do believe that a lot of them are getting tested some the day of because they don't want to be problematic on that. So I would certainly support excluding weddings that are already been pre-planned in advance of the event that the things have had planned from. Any further comment?
You're going to expect the police department to enforce it?
I think we're going to fall back if we pass this, which I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to happen here tonight. But I think if we are going to pass an ordinance that deals with public health, that we would ask our police department to help us with that.
Yes.
I would ask them to do what they could to help us with that. Does anybody have any more comments? Keith? Keith, would you like to schedule a meeting?
If we can do it in 24 hours, yes.
Mark? Do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I was withholding all my, I heard everything. I think another meeting is unnecessary. I don't think it would be more beneficial having heard everything from past meetings. Plus, given the time, all these businesses are gearing up for what traditionally is the last furlough of the season. So I don't think another meeting would be the best way to go. Even though I'd love to hear more input, I'm always open to it. I believe if someone feels strongly about this issue, we have the capability of acting on it tonight, and if so, they should bring a motion to the table.
Thank you.
One question, since Andre brought it up, about weddings and events. What does that mean? In the sense of if there was a family party planned, coming up to, or they're renting a house, things like that. How do you define that? What did you mean by that?
I would say weddings.
You said weddings and events. Okay, so just weddings.
I would say weddings.
Inside.
The last one. Weddings, things go inside.
Is it inside, side, glass or down?
What's that?
Is it inside the glass or down?
Well, again, I will say, like, yes, a flat down on the tent would be just fine as inside.
Something
I don't know.
you're talking about something. Why don't we just have a mandate that this is it? You have to wear a mask inside, not against sporting. And you know what happens when we do ordinances, something gets mucked up. We've got 2 days until Labor Day. We'll put the wrong, we always manage to somehow put the wrong provision. Even though we know. And that's a criminal offense to not wear a mask.
Martha, I
Which
just,
is not what anybody wants to have language. You're pushing it on it because
We do, we have a bonus on our agenda on July 29th. Kathy Pratt, first.
the ordinance, exactly.
You want me to make copies?
Go ahead.
I just want to say I was watching online and you're all very, very hard to understand online. I can understand you, but I can't understand any of the other counselors, so I don't know if you could speak up or closer to the microphone. That might be helpful to people that are watching. I don't know how many people are, but here I am.
I kind of figured when I saw you come in. Do you have any input while we're doing this? On the topic?
No.
As a business owner or in your official capacity?
I'm actually not a business owner, so I don't have any input as a business owner. But I am, my official capacity as the chair of the school committee. I will say that we were sitting in a similar position. Just the willing chair of the school committee. We were sitting in a similar position just about a week ago. The governor had not yet come out with the mask mandate. We were asked as a school committee to set policy. We were charged with that. Rhode Island Department of Education said you have to come up with something or your plan won't be approved. So we were sort of in a somewhat similar situation. And it's not an enviable place to be. But we did in the end pass a mask indoor, everybody in the school, maybe 12, plus anybody who walks through the doors basically. Mask mandate, and Since then, the governor came out and required it anyway, which is causing more political drama. But anyway, we go back to school week from today. We're trying to ask everybody to get tested before they go back. It's, as being in the business community, being around and having kids that are going back to school, it's nerve wracking. We want our kids to go back to school and be full in-person learning. And anything we can do for that. I also have, one at home who's eligible to be vaccinated. I work in a few businesses that are really high in turnover. I wear a mask all the time. It's going to be real tough to police the customers, but I think you can definitely, as businesses can have, everywhere I work, we have to wear a mask. That's all I can say about that.
Thank you.
So that's just my input. The school thing is the most important thing, because I need to continue working, so I need my kids to go to school.
Right.
But I think Laura's point is also very important. People don't have stocks and masks right now. If you're going to put it into effect tomorrow, it's not an excuse by any means. If you have them, you have them. But I've been on Amazon, trying to get masks. They're a lot harder to get all of a sudden. So.
I picked up 100 of them from Restaurant Depot last week. And they were not very expensive. They were KN95. So.
But if it's tomorrow or the next day, you're gonna have.
Right, I certainly understand that.
But I think that's a good point. So
I think that
I guess I should also say I'm obviously happy to help spread the word of whatever you decide to try to craft it in a positive way to get the message out there for the last few weekends.
I think that's going to be an absolute necessity, and I thank you for that offer.
If that's the route you're gonna go, I hope you don't start carving out. Strong, feel that strong. Just a mass, as opposed to this event or that event. But it's very easy for everyone to try to, it's easy to feel that strongly, and it should be that way, it should be across the board. So.
Well, I'm trying to have some sympathy about the chaos this is going to cause, because I understand that. But I understand this. I want everybody to be abundant, to make abundantly clear everybody that I understand that this is going to cause some problems. And the last time this was on our agenda, we got a few letters from brides who were concerned about having masks and the whole thing, on the wedding. A lot of them had missed their weddings last year, and they rescheduled for this year, and here we are again. I don't want to kind of ruin a bride's wedding day, especially if something else pre-planned. But I think that, again, the decision here is I'm basing on the medical advice, and I don't think things look good right now. But I'm willing to go that route for pre-planned weddings because they were planned.
I guess my point is, if the need is that strong, wedding shouldn't dictate it. It's either that strong or it is.
Okay, Doctor, are you still on the line?
I am.
Can you talk about the weddings and maybe some of the, have you had people like with weddings inquire to you about rules and whatnot?
We've had a lot of thoughtful people that have reached out regarding groups for weddings. It seems like they've been self-policing much better than other entities do. They have wanted to make sure that they're not a spreader event. I think they have natural concerns that if there was an event, they would tie it back to their own family. So many wedding individuals have reached out. I think they're very thoughtful. Some have indicated that they're going to have testing done on the day of the wedding. Some have really scaled back who can be at the wedding. So I think from a self-policing standpoint, the wedding parties themselves have done a good job from the ones that have inquired with me. But I think their motivation is different.
Kathy Marone, is she on the line?
I'm here.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
You've heard the discussion of the evening. Do you have any input on that legally wise?
Okay, for some reason tonight, the acoustics of the room are very bad. I can hear some of you very well, but not others very well. I would say that an emergency situation would arise which would justify a variation from the charter provisions as to how an ordinance is enacted, would be something sudden and unexpected that arises. And that would be up to the council to decide whether or not any new information from the medical center rises to that level.
Thank you, Catherine. I do.
So I don't know whether this helps, Andre, but I just looked up because they did one. Nantucket did something, this is the Bill's point, their point. They define indoor as an enclosed structure where 50% or more of the sides are closed to the exterior. Now, those weddings are largely intense, but if they want to close the sides, then I kind of agree with Bill, there's no difference really between being in a tent with all the sides down and being, you know, a delicate.
Okay, I'll buy that. Sure.
Dr. Warnkoff, a real quick question. I'm reading this draft from a July 29th suggested document. And in there, it talks about, quote unquote, face coverings are not required for people who can easily, continuously, measurably maintain at least 6 feet of distance from other people. I know in the most recent CDC guidelines, it's been 3 feet. Any thoughts on 3 verse 6? What does it mean?
Thank you. Sorry, I was on mute. I think from a scientific standpoint, 6 is better than 3. I think for close quarters, neither one of them can comply with the social distancing recommendations from the DOH.
So does that mean, I'm sorry, 9 is better than 6? More is better than less, right? But you know about any CDC guidelines now?
But again, I'm going to try to take it from the Rhode Island DOH. The Rhode Island DOH has made it very clear that 6 feet is better than 3. And if you can't maintain that social distancing, then you should wear a mask.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. All right, so, I just have a question about, like, again, these events, like, would this require
So I just want to reiterate the point that a lot of businesses are going to be scrambling. And if you could be sensitive to the fact that they need to get some inventory for their staff or whatever customers and coordinate with Dr. Warkup, so they're not out of compliance for no fault of their own.
I think that's a great point. I don't think
I would put a deadline on it.
Well, I mean, in terms of when the thing goes into effect.
I don't think we should make it effective at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I think we should make it the following day. Because if you're right, I mean, it's gonna take time to get the word out and for people to make sure they're supplied, you know.
I mean, I know that the hardware store has been selling it, but they won't really have enough, I would imagine.
Dr. Workup said he could source them in a day.
So if you can coordinate with Dr. Warkup, we will certainly be a distribution center, which would happen at the chamber. But you don't want businesses to be out of compliance for no fault.
Dr. Warkup, just to reiterate, I don't know if you could hear that, but the question was, do you think you could help procure with Bill, maybe like procure a couple of cases of masks tomorrow so that if a mandate passes, we could have masks to deliver to this or indoor facility?
I could have an answer for you guys by mid-morning.
Well, again, I agree with that, but I also feel as though people should be, people need to know that they need to stop wearing their own masks. I don't think it should be on the owners to put the business owners have to provide masks, but they should have some if they want to provide masks, but people don't have.
Right, they just, right now, the business may not be able to get, unless they leave the island, go to, like you said, restaurant. and go away. So I'm just saying, if the doctor can help get, or somebody can help get masks, it would.
Again, I don't think we're gonna be sending Chief Moynihan into an establishment to look for people that are gonna be wearing masks. At noon tomorrow, I think. I do think this is being reasonable people. I'm not gonna, they can have all the time they need, as far as I'm concerned. Comments? Questions?
Well, I mean, there are two questions. One, which is most important, and it's just sort of most timely, and that is, where do people stand on the council regarding, should we declare an emergency and have a meeting in 24 hours about this? Or is it the sense of the council that we want to press forward with an edited version of what has been on our agenda since the end of July? You know, like, is that, I don't know where people are on that. I'm comfortable pressing on, but you know.
I'd like to hear, like I said, I'd like to hear from more people, and be more.
Tonight,
No, I'd like to meet more. Just to have the inclusive.
I would not be in favor of a meeting tomorrow night. At the 11th hour, I'm not quite sure how productive it would be, given all the information we have up to now.
Catherine, do we have to make a motion to suspend the rules?
Can you ask the question again, please?
Catherine Morella, do we have to make a motion to suspend the rules in order to make a motion on this ordinance?
Could someone repeat the question? I don't know what is going on tonight. I am having awful trouble hearing.
I'm asking if we have to suspend the rules in order to take a vote on the ordinance presented by the charter.
You would have to take the necessary vote to declare the emergency and then proceed.
So what's on our agenda?
Discuss and act an emergency ordinance to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, to protect the health, safety, welfare of the residents and visitors. I'm sorry, nobody can hear me. Discuss and act on an emergency town ordinance to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, to protect the health, safety, welfare of the residents and visitors to the town, which are eminently imperiled by the unforeseen circumstance of a large spike in the increase in COVID-19 cases in the town as reported by the Blackout Medical Center.
So Kathy, can you help us out with the motion?
Okay. Yes, do you want the motion that you need in order to proceed on an emergency basis? Is that what the motion you're looking for?
That's the motion. Yes.
Okay, so if you could just give me a moment, I've got to pull up the charter to get that information. Just, to give you the exact wording.
Thank you.
From a process point of view, from a process point of view, the number 5 says this ordinance shall become effective at 9 a.m. on.
I would say September.
Friday. Okay, I'm just saying, while Kathy's thinking about doing it, we can take care of it.
It's also not a substantial transmission of high transmission.
There's a couple.
All the updated numbers.
This is from Kathy. You just did it. Mary Lynn.
from the website, right after.
You have another one of those.
No, that's fine, I don't need it. I give them mine, I'll bring up the.
I think there might be one over here.
Nope.
I'd like to make a motion. And maybe somebody can help me with that.
Okay,
Actually,
I
hold
have
on.
the I have, sorry.
Just 1 second, before we hear the motion about the ordinance, I'd like to make a motion.
I was about to ask to make a motion.
Okay.
And Kathy's clarifying my motion,
Sorry.
so let's work on that.
Yeah,
motion.
I was just looking up to get the specific article number and paragraph. So it would be a motion under paragraph 409B of the charter to suspend the provisions of 409A pertaining to the method by which ordinances are enacted due to the fact of the emergency situation, which is defined as a situation where the public health, safety, and or general welfare of the town is imminently imperiled by an unusual or unforeseen circumstance.
Thank you, Kathy.
Here's a bunch of things I think that we need to modify. So,
Yeah, you got it. I'll make a motion that we suspend the action of the ordinance of 409B, which reads in the event of emergency wherein the town council may enact an appropriate ordinance or ordinances, council may suspend the provisions of subsection A of this section by unanimous vote of the council. Only action by ordinance clearly essential to deal with the emergency shall be taken under such suspension. Any emergency shall be defined as a situation wherein the public health, safety, and general welfare of the town is imminently imperiled by an unusual or unforeseen circumstances, in this case, the COVID-19 virus. For a second. Second by Sam. Oh. Second by Keith. I'm looking at
Motion
you.
made.
Second by. All those in
Well,
favor?
hold on, considering it needs a unanimous vote, explain, dumb it down exactly what we're doing.
Okay, all we're doing now is to act on the first step it has to be a first step open the door to allow it. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, prolonging everything, but.
Well, it's-
So that is, I think that's
Let's do it when they have to do it.
We legally have to do this. So motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Martha?
Aye.
I'm in favor, Ted? And Mark?
Aye.
Motion will carry 5-0 to suspend subsection A of the charter.
Motion.
You can make one.
I'd like to make a motion that we have an emergency town council meeting to discuss potential action on COVID-19 masks on Thursday night, 8 o'clock.
Council, second one, reason is made in motion. Is there a second? There's no second. So the motion will not carry.
I just wanted on the record that that motion was made.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have the emergency ordinance in front of us. I'm going to read that emergency ordinance into the record.
We need,
We need to.
I think we need to go line by line.
Yeah, we're gonna go line by line. To make some, we do need to make some adjustments to it. It's the emergency ordinance of the town of New Shore dated September 1st, 2021, dealing with masks. Whereas this week, the CDC recommended that Americans fully vaccinated against the COVID-19 should go back to wearing masks in indoor public places and regions where the coronavirus is spreading rapidly. And are we good with that?
No.
Okay.
No.
We're not good with the
No. This week. The CDC has recommended.
CDC has recommended.
Second, whereas this week, the Rhode Island Department of Health reported that Rhode Island has a high instead of substantial transmission of the coronavirus as described by the CDC and. Is that what you accept? We just removed this week and we changed substantial to high.
Is that a downgrade?
No, it's higher.
No, it's
Substantially
higher.
is lower
It's higher. Yes. So we removed, do we agree? We removed this week, replaced with high, okay. Thirdly, whereas the state reported 205,050 new cases per 1,000 people in the past 7 days, and the threshold for high, which would replace substantial transmission, is 100, replacing 50 cases per 100,000. Is everybody okay with that?
Can I read that number back to you?
It removes
259
substantial.
or
No, no, I want to get that one. The numbers,
The numbers are 205,000 instead of 57.4.
because what the doctor sent us is the 202 and 100,000.
Yep. 202 yesterday, 205 today.
Okay, so that's going to now be, whereas the state recorded 205,050 new cases per 100,000 people in the past 7 days, and the threshold for high, we're taking out substantial transmission is, we're taking out 50 and putting 100 cases per 100,000. Next line, whereas Dr. Chan, a consultant medical director with the Rhode Island Department of Health, recommended this week that masks be worn in indoor public spaces. Are we going to remove this week?
This was written July 29th, no.
Whereas this time of year, Block Island is overwhelmed with tourists from all over the country and elsewhere. Whereas this week, we all set with this time of year, Block Island is overwhelmed with tourists from all over the country and elsewhere. Okay. It currently reads, whereas this week, we should just. Okay, so I'm going to just read it. Whereas this week, Dr. Walker, the medical director of the Block Island Medical Center, reported an alarming increase in the number of coronavirus cases on Block Island to the town council. Should we remove this week or Dr. Warcup? I think you were reporting to us this week that we had a reporting an alarming increase in the number of corona cases on Block Island. I don't know how that could be read though. If you're reporting other weeks, should we remove this week? That's what I'm asking, what we're moving this week. Okay.
Not this week. I'd say it's the continuation number.
So how would you label it?
I would say, whereas Dr. Walker, the medical director of Block Island Medical Center, has reported a continuing increase in the coronavirus cases on Block Island.
To be clear on Councilor Stover's correct rewording. Whereas Dr. Warcup, the medical director of the Block Island Medical Center, reported a continuing increase in the number of coronavirus cases on Rock Island to the town council. Does that sound okay to the council? Next paragraph, the town council and town of New Salem does hereby adopt the following emergency ordinance pertaining to masks for the purposes of protecting the public health, safety, and general welfare of the town, which are imminently perilled by COVID-19. Further follows number 1, all persons on Block Island who are in indoor spaces open to the public shall cover their mouths and noses with a mask or cloth face covering. Face coverings are not required for people who can easily, continuously, and measurably maintain at least 6 feet of distance from other people.
That's just a number 2. Or an insert from a sentence. Says,
Are we good with are we good with number 1? Okay.
For purposes of this ordinance, indoor is defined as any enclosed structure where 50% or more of the size are closed.
Could you just kindly repeat that?
Yes, of course. This is to get at the running issue. For purposes of this ordinance, quote, indoor, end quote, is defined as any enclosed structure where 50% or more of the sides are closed to the exterior or outside.
So to be clear, this net, you want to insert for purposes of this ordinance, indoor is defined as any enclosed structure yes, please.
Is defined as any enclosed structure where 50% or more of the sides are closed to the outside. Outdoors, close to the outdoors.
Does anybody have any comments on the Councilor Stover's proposal? Okay, so that'll be the number 2. The new number 3 would read, patrons of restaurants and other establishments which serve food and or beverages shall not be required to wear masks or cloth face covering while eating or drinking. Any problems with that? The new number 4. Nothing in this emergency ordinance shall be construed so as to require face masks or other coverings of those whose health will be endangered thereby or who are developmentally unable to comply, including young children who may not be able to effectively wear a mask. The new number 5 would read, nothing in this emergency ordinance shall be construed so as to require a place of business to refuse entry to a customer not wearing a face covering. We all good with that? The new number 6, this ordinance shall become effective at 9 a.m. on September 3rd, 2021, and shall continue in full force in effect until modified or revoked by the town council. So, any comments on that? Hold on, Joe, we'll go yours.
I just want to, in terms of the timing, I would like to be able to put a plan in place. If we can effectively coordinate Dr. Warkup in acquiring the masks and distributing the masks in an orderly, uniform fashion, so that businesses aren't finding themselves scrambling to go to the mainland. People are already stressed out to know for the weekend. So if we can help get those masks to people in an orderly, coherent fashion, that would be helpful. So 9 o'clock, I'm just saying, might be a little early in the day to get that after Dr. Warkup requires them to get them to people so that their businesses are.
Want to make it noon?
Well, hold on a second. Dr. Warkup, are you still? hold on, Dr. Walker, are you still on the line with us?
I'm here.
Realistically, how long do you think you could inquire about masks for the businesses and get them here?
I can probably have an answer by 10 o'clock in the morning, and we can try to procure them here as long as the ferry's running in the afternoon with the weather. But, you know, there's also, there's kind of an illusion here that people are traveling to Block Island without their own mask. So I definitely think we can supplement, but it'd be shocking to me that somebody travels without a mask. So if the question or the potential is that we need to get enough masks to supply for everyone who visits Block Island is probably is inaccurate. But I would assume most people traveling, since they need to have a mask indoors on the boat, would be having a mask.
I'm strictly talking about,
Right, and Lars is just, I just want, Lars isn't in front of the microphone, but, Lars just, director of the chamber just reiterated that, what did you say?
I'm not talking about visitors, I'm talking about time staff.
Yeah, he's more concerned about the online staff, again, they're not visitors. For the rest of
I can do my best to procure as much as I can. I can get back to the council by mid-morning.
Okay, again, like I said, I just want people to, I don't think we're, I don't think we're
If you
going
want
to.
to make it unit that buys us the morning ferry on Friday.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're waiting to get the masks to make it don't happen, that's all.
Well, again, I really don't think we're gonna be sending the National Guard to look for masks.
Let's see,
So, we're trying to, I think we're trying.
the book right now is dividing lines.
Yeah, that's true. The new number 6, to clarify, this ordinance shall become effective at 9 a.m. on noon on September 3rd, 12 p.m. 12 noon on September 3rd, 2021, and shall continue in full force in effect until modified or revoked by the town council. I'll make a motion to adopt the emergency ordinance of the town of New Shore as stated, as just read. But there's one more change that needs to be made. The title is reading the emergency ordinance of the town of New Shore. It says July 29th, and it should read, that's already changed. Okay. Okay, back to. I'll make a motion to accept the emergency ordinance of the town of New Shore dated September 1st, 2021 regarding this. Second by Council Stover. Is there any discussion? Any more discussion? Jessica Wood? I'm sorry, Joe.
I was just wondering if you're planning on keeping this on your agenda to revisit every 2 weeks when you meet. You're constantly updating and.
I believe we do. We absolutely. Joe Friesen, I'm sorry I missed you before. Go ahead.
I advise some people who actually have clinics. My reading of it is all person applies to people who are indoor places open to the public, and most places aren't open to the public.
Is that going to be a problem?
Yeah. For example, what places are open? If they rented something.
Rented and private in the public is not, and like, for that time period. I'm sure.
Yeah, we're gonna find another lawyer who's gonna have a different interpretation.
It should be clear, is it that you're expecting, whether it's a wedding, people have masks or not? It should be clear.
Yeah, I think, we are, unless it's an open tent.
So if someone's having a wedding and they hold up a sign, they'd be good to go with it, but if they have it down, it should be right, correct? Yeah, I just think that, not that I wanna make everyone a wedding wear masks. I just think that it's that important that you have an emergency meeting to put it in because of health, then it should be, nothing should be carved out. It should be what it is. It's that important. And I think there is, like I said, someone has something at the spring house. At the Sullivan house, they can roll up to the sides. They may be able to get away that way. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what you're articulating around.
Can you please repeat that so it can go over the air?
Number two.
The comments of Bill, because they're not being broadcast to the people listening in.
And I'll turn my microphone on. What he was saying is it doesn't matter if it's a large indoor gathering, we want to require masks. So that's why we put the definition of indoor in. So if it's a wedding tent at the Sullivan House and they have two of the sides open to the outdoors, it's fine. But if not, it is an indoor event that requires masks. Is that?
You say any enclosed structure where 50% or more of the size is closed. Okay, that works.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you, Joe, much appreciated. Motion's been made second. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Martha? I'm in favor. Sven?
I am not in favor of the guidance of the process.
Thank you, Sven. Mark?
No. Not in favor.
You're not in favor. The motion carries 3-0. 3-2, sorry about that. I urge you on disregarding that. I will say that, I do want to just say, as a comment that I understand that this, is going to make news. And I just want to let news outlets know that, I'm not doing press on this. I've given my opinion on this and the reasons for my vote here tonight during this meeting. And I will refer all media inquiries to our town manager media. Sorry? What do you mean? What's that? Tonight? You're here until Friday? Friday morning is fine. I would refer everybody to our town manager, Mary Ann Crawford, until Friday morning. When she does leave on a well-deserved vacation. Thank you.
Andre, I'll state my reasons right now.
Okay.
Probably seems really hypocritical of me because ever since I've been at this table, I've always been an advocate for health and safety. I'm the one who's fiercely fighting against mopeds because of the negative byproducts. I'm the one who wants deer eradicated because of the negative products health-wise as a result of them. But in this case, I'm not convinced or scared at the 11th hour of the season, given the time constraints and the need possibly for more enforcement in the form of an increased police force, to vote in favor of this. I know it's a somewhat Solomon-like decision on my part, but I am the head cheerleader of the medical center and Dr. Warkup, outstanding medical director, outstanding staff. At this point, given the timing of it, that's why I voted against it.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate those comments. And I can say, I know we're gonna say, oh, it's the end of the season and whatnot, I said, but these are the times. The virus doesn't have seasons. And right now, my vote is to, it's gonna be, people are gonna be going inside to these small enclosed places. And this is when we looked at the data from last October, we started getting spikes. So that's what I'm trying to head off, because we're already having spikes way before we did last year. So I know we don't have to, but
Last year, everybody just said we got to the summer.
Yeah.
That's what happened, and then we were going to close small spaces, the weather was beautiful.
comment on subjects? Number 2 on the agenda.
Yeah, we're finally getting just what now.
No.
Yeah. Surprise.
Discuss an act on blackout. Number 2 is to discuss an act on blackout of school necessity of school construction stage 2 applications to RIDE around the Department of Education. Mary, I'll let you start this off.
Yeah, I'll start this
With
off,
input
and
from,
Jess is gonna be happy that you didn't have to speak to this.
I will note that Jessica Willie, chairman of the school committee, is in the audience.
The Rhode Island Department of Education is required to come out to all schools, all school districts when all school districts when they're looking to submit a stage 2 application. Department of Education met with, I was involved, I also attended the meeting, and they included the building committee for the town and school. It's a number of folks from both sides of the government. And based on suggestions and incentives that RIDE had brought to the attention of the building committee made the recommendation to the school committee that they delay submitting the stage 2 application until February 15th. The school committee made that decision at their Monday school committee meeting. Therefore, at this point, I'm asking that the town council table this item until further notice. We most likely will be back to the council with the stage 2 application obviously before the February 15th submittal date. So I'd see that happening sometime around the first of the year.
That's a good question. Just a couple, one is, just because I'm going to keep about this stuff, if we're sharing this spreadsheet around, there's a misspelling, capital is misspelled. Just sort of.
I'll pass that along to the
Sorry. But who's Jacobs? It says Jacobs priority. I don't know who or what.
There was a
that is.
report that came out, the state had hired a company called Jacobs that did an analysis and study of every single school within the state of Rhode Island. It's a quite comprehensive report, and when you submit the stage 2 application, you have to reconcile with what you're submitting on the application to those items that were recommended and prioritized in the stage 2 Jacobs report. If the council would like a copy of the Jacobs report, I'd be more than happy to get it for you, but I don't think you do.
No disciples didn't know who it was.
Anyone else? No?
While this is gonna be tabled, I do think it's important that the council be aware that substantial financial costs will be coming down the pipe. So for your overall planning, when you're looking at all the numbers, it's really important to keep that in the back of your mind.
Just a little, chairman, all good?
We agree with that last statement.
Yeah.
Mr. McCall just made.
Alright. Do we have to make a motion to table this, or should we just? No. Alright. Mary, just bring this back to us when you're ready.
I'm out if it's any consolation, we're in good company with most municipalities as it relates to these.
What the heck is it? If we can, you put a ban on home 50 years ago, come on.
It's almost like there's designed in obsolescence.
No? We have comments on that. Number 3 is discuss an act on an update from the board of directors of the Black Island Power Company. Board of directors, you're here? Yeah, Nancy Dodge, you wanna step up to the mic? or-
Okay, this is really not anything to act on. This is just a kind of an update to the end of a painful chapter that has brought us utility district now running the power company as a nonprofit and doing some wonderful things. You might recall the town bonded for $1.8 million when the town went to buy the power company. We bought 2/3 of it. At that point in time, the town was the majority shareholder and Sarah McGinnis was the minority shareholder because Sarah refused to sell under the original terms. We then created the legislation, had a Block Island Utility District that was basically a nonprofit and brought with it all the positives of a nonprofit, i.e. no taxes and the like. The purpose was that the power company would sell the assets of the power company then to the utility district. Sarah objected to that, but she couldn't stop it. So the majority shareholders voted in December of 2018 to sell the assets to the Block Island Utility District for over $5 million. That money came to the Block Island Power Company. All of the liabilities were paid for. Sarah was paid $900,000 out of those proceeds as the minority shareholder, which we thought was the adequate price. She did not. She wanted over $2 million for her share at that point. So she went to court. And we've been in litigation ever since. We were never able to settle because Sarah never backed off the $2 million plus amount that she thought her interest could be valued at. Ultimately, we got a decision, we had a judgment. We discussed this back in June. Everyone agreed that we weren't going to appeal from that judgment. We then had to wait for the judge to determine what the costs would be, because it's not only the amount that he decided that Sarah's share was worth, but then costs on top of that. The judge determined that since 2 years had passed from the time that the Block Island Power Company decided to sell, and in those 2 years, basically, Jeff Wright had been doing such a great job that the value of the company had increased. Therefore, Sarah's interest increased by about $800,000. So Sarah's getting the additional $800,000 plus interest and costs. That's being paid out of the proceeds from the original sale that are still being held by the power company. Nothing is coming out of the town's coffers at this point. Sarah will be paid what the judge determined that she now gets. And the balance that's left over, which we estimate to be about $500,000, we will then turn over to the town as its shareholder interest. And that's where we are. It's in the process of being paid out right now. It should be over and done with. At the end of the day, we have the power company run as a utility district by some very competent people. And it really didn't cost the town more than $1.3 million to buy that power company and bring it to where it is today, which we think is a pretty good ending. Lengthy, but good.
I certainly thank you for those comments, Nancy. Does anybody have any comments from the council?
Thank you. Nancy, thank you. And for those who haven't read, or there's a note on Quickbase, which I believe you wrote, and it's very comprehensive and it really helps spell it out for those that are interested. So it's a great document, I think.
It's also going to run in the Block Island Times on Friday.
Okay, great. I just think it's a nice, clear way to at least understand a lot of twists and turns. So thank you for doing that.
And as you all have heard me say many times, I talk about to some people in the course of the summer, and it's kind of fun to be able to say to people from Medicaid and such that a lot of power went out for this happens. the last one.
Not very nice.
Well,
Anybody else have a comment?
they're astonished, when they say they're all astonished, and so that speaks volumes to the nature of the problem.
Nancy did a super job of explaining that, and condensing it at the same time. And the power company, the utility district, has done a super job since it's been acquired. My only question is, that $500,000 go into a general fund?
Yes, those funds would be turned over to the town. I have had some preliminary discussion with the finance director in Williams as it relates to those funds. Our preliminary discussion, it's along the lines that those funds most likely will be used for, we will suggest the council they be used for, either paying off the debt service a little early, depending on, if there's penalties associated with it, which I don't think there are, or possibly over the term of the debt to reduce how much the debt we have to pay each year until that debt matures, which is a 20-year-old bondage.
One last thing, Nancy, assuming this is all happening within the next few weeks, is the then board of BIPCO, which you and Bill and I think Ken, is that then dissolved?
It's Island Lane,
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank
Hey, like, that's why you're on, who was on that board?
We all do it.
Will that be dissolved and then it is all up to utility district then?
Yes, yeah, it is the Island Light and Power Company, which is, it's Ken Lacoste, Bill McClure, and myself. It will be dissolved. Kathy and I discussed whether there's a formal dissolution. We don't think so. We don't want to spend any more money on filing anything. It will just fade away.
Thank you very much to all, the three of you and others who have been on that and done a lot of work.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you all. I know we were here, we've had some talks along the way. I think this is an immense benefit to the island once it's been accomplished. And it's just, it's exciting to put things to rest. Things take so long out here, and it's a long haul and a slog at some point. And I do really seriously appreciate all your efforts for getting us here to be able to make this announcement tonight. And I do want to thank personally, I do want to add that the island owes a lot of gratitude to Ken Post because he was sitting in this seat when this all started going down. He was tireless advocate for the whole thing. He's still on that board. And I think his service to that board, even though he's not here, was, a lot of what made it go through. He's not here tonight, and I just want to say I'm very fortunate to have him also as part of that team. And I guess that's what I can say on something.
Nice.
Yeah, I was just going to say and thanks. There's a reason Jeff writes here, and it's because someone found him and hired him. We all spend a lot. I mean, I think Jeff Wright's a rock star. I've never seen you as old person as well as he does, and I give the board and the a great deal of credit for finding him and keeping him happy. So I think he's an important part of our future.
Just for those who don't know, the other day at the board meeting, we did announce that there was a tentative agreement, can I call that? Tentative agreement that they'll be here for 5 years.
Keep in mind, this acquisition passed by 1 or 2 votes.
No, I think it has to be unanimously at this point.
Victory has no problem.
Barbara, you have a comment?
I just want to say that this is for at least 5 and most likely 10 years.
Okay, so is that still tentative?
We're just ironing out the last final details before we get it.
Right.
Publicly.
We're certainly going to benefit the since he's been here. And well, and as a member of the community too, it's not as the boss of the power company. That's how we all know him, but he's a great guy. All right, any other Discuss and act on the acquisition of real estate in Overlook property on plat 19 lot 3 with a premature disclosure would adversely affect the public interest. This item may be held in closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 4246-585. Any discussions or considerations related to the acquisition of or lease of real property for real purposes or of the disposition of publicly held property where advanced public information would be detrimental to the interest of the public. In Rhode Island General Law 4246-587, a matter related to the question of the investment of public funds where the premature disclosure would adversely affect the public interest. Public funds shall include any investment plan or matter related thereto, including but not limited to state lottery plans and new promotions. Is it the recommendation of a solicitor that we take this in a closed session? Or recommendation from anyone?
Yes.
Recommendation, motion to go into closed session on item number 4. I'm making that motion, yes. I'm making that motion, second by second one, Rhythm. Well, I just number 4. Okay. Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Martha? I'm in favor. Sven? And Mark. Motion carried to go into closed sessions. On item number 4. Is there anything that we can say about this before we go into closed session?
I don't think so at this point.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question about, and that is, we made a commitment at the financial town meeting to get an appraisal.
Yeah.
And I think, I think we need to make that appraisal public as soon as we possibly can. It's important. It was an essential part, I think, of the majority who voted for it at financial town meeting. So I just, I don't have any sense of where this goes legally, but I just, sort of put a marker down. I think that they public as soon as possible.
Thank you, Keith. I would imagine that will be forthcoming sooner than later. Oh, thank you, guys.
Just to follow up with that, if there is an appraisal that you now have that is going to be the subject, I would ask why that appraisal is not public before you go into closed session. There's no reason for that to be private. It's not detrimental to the public in any way. It was part and parcel of a purchase and sale agreement. So I'd ask Kathy if that shouldn't be made public before you have your conversation.
Kathy? Did you hear Nancy Dodge's?
I think it's a document.
Yes, in terms of the closed session, I am more concerned about the advice and discussing the sales agreement and what the results of this appraisal are going to be and the legal ramifications. That should all be in closed session. But I have no strong opposition to, if the council so determines, releasing the number of the appraisal that we just received.
Does anybody have the appraisal number in front of that right now?
$8 million.
Mary Crawford?
I want to confirm that, because I don't want to lose.
8.25.
That's what I just said.
Okay, so we're going to close session tonight because the town has received an appraisal on the Overlook property, flat 19 lot 3, in the amount of $8.25 million. And that's what I'll say, $8.25 million. And then we're going to come out of closed session and meet with the land trust to discuss their appraisal. Just ask them to leave the room. Yeah, we can go in. Motion has been made and seconded to go into closed session. By a vote of 4 to nothing, we will go into closed session. No, we haven't. I'm just saying that we have some options. No answer, I asked.
Her father had it, did they find it?
No, but I never looked at the original, look in the safe deposit box. She said, oh,
I have to make it my.
Bill, I'll text you. You want to come here? Okay.
You know.
Yeah, okay.
it's like that.
Thank you. Thank you. And then your visit. Oh, four.
It's foreign. I'm gonna call Kathy.
The second by Mark, all in favor, Keith? Martha? I'm all good. And,
Okay, you're being recorded again.
And you guys are correct.
Yes, and so I'll make a motion to come out of closed session.
Don't pull it under.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do you want to announce that no motions were made in closed session?
Wait, you can open the doors up there.
Oh,
Yeah, let's pick up.
Yes. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Cory.
Are we good?
Hi, Cory. Did I tell you not to say anything, Cory, or are you just not quiet? Did I have to say anything, or are you just quiet?
There wasn't anything, I just would be here for.
That's nice to see.
I have to be here for a war.
Bye.
See you later.
Nice to see you.
Robert, you can't leave.
I was giving my.
I gotta write it down on the. Okay, back in session, I would like to announce that the joint meeting with the new Shore Town Council and Black Island Land Trust, that no votes were taken, and I'd like a motion to seal the minutes. Second motion, second by Stan Reason, all those, okay, is there any? So motion been made second, all those in favor, Keith? Yes. And Martha? I in favor, Ben? Mark? Motion carried 5-0. If I make a motion to adjourn the meeting? Would you correct? Yeah.
I just for maybe a reference for the next meeting, I realized after we get past the ordinance, but I never assigned a penalty to it. So it's like the strong rules, which you might want to consider doing that at some point, otherwise, you know, they're gonna reverse back to the general ordinance. So if it's something, there's a meeting, just assign it whenever, you know, whatever it might be. But if you don't do that, it automatically defaults.
Well, I would outside of that. I'm sure.
We're still in.
You're still in session.
If you were to assign a penalty to it, no different than the stores.
We're on the ticket, yeah.
You're getting down, just gonna make it easier. for everyone.
I'm gonna make a motion to reconsider and we can add,
Yes.
Happy around.
It's on your agenda for Tuesday night.
this weekend. is what it's-
Happy around.
So,
That's what I didn't want, that's why.
let's make a motion to reconsider, and then.
Do you want me to add it?
Add a,
Yes, I'm
You already did it.
we did.
No, I.
So.
I missed it.
Hey, hang on, I gotta put you back on speaker.
I have issues. Look, we're still in session, it's brought up to us by our email director and from the police chief, and that we can assign a penalty to the mass ordinance. We therefore, so therefore, is it a misdemeanor, which I think is part of the case. Right, is it legal for us to do a motion to reconsider that bill and add like a penalty? Right now, or should we wait until our meeting?
I think that's how you do it. That is the
Yes,
With,
yes, yes, you are live on mics. It's being picked up anyway. In some muffled way, but you should turn on the mics if you're gonna be talking. For the record. I think there's a mic on this computer that picks up some.
Catherine, you still there?
Needs to be
It's
done.
actually really straightforward. It's not hard. I'd like to make a motion to reconsider, council vote on the,
Yep. Right, and that's okay, but my question is it okay for us to do this right now? I just want to be clear on that. Okay, thank you.
After the weekend.
Tuesday.
No, the simplest way is to leave them open now. Yeah.
I think we're all in favor of doing it now. All we're doing is attaching a penalty, to the emergency ordinance. I think we can do it now. All right, so Keith, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider, the council vote on the, emergency ordinance, regarding masks.
Seconded by Martha Wall. All those in favor of reconsideration? Martin?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
Well, you're voting no. We're not gonna do anything else. And then there'll be a bigger fine and it'll be your fault. That'd be ironic. Martha, you in favor, Keith, you are really safe, thank you. So who's good? I called on him, I said obviously.
No.
I would like to propose an amendment to that ordinance, which would be number 7. That says violations of this ordinance shall carry a $50 fine.
Can you second something?
It's a new.
All right, motion made, seconded by Council Stover, seconded by, motion made by Council Stover, and, seconded by, second Warden. Rizzo. All those in favor, Pete?
Yes.
Mark?
No.
Martha? I'm in favor, Sven?
I'm in favor of reducing penalty, not in favor of more.
So, what's the motion? Read back the motion.
The motion was to add a new, item number 7 that reads violation of this ordinance will carry a $50 fine.
I'm in favor.
Yes, I'm in favor of that, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of the ordinance.
We're not talking about that anymore, we're talking about the fine.
Well, we actually are for the 7 point of that. So, go ahead, we're good.
We're- Motion will carry 4-1, with Councilor Minnie voting in the negative. Any discussion?
Is it clear everybody what happened
Yes.
here? No, I'm not sure.
Yes, we just had-
Mark, you just around this.
Elevated from elevated?
No, reduces it.
Yeah, even still, the enforceability of it is what I.
No, I'm not arguing that problem. This came up before. The problem was if we didn't, if we left it with, and this is where I screwed up the first time. If we left it without, specific numbering, then it becomes Bill, I can't refer to Bill. He explains it better than anybody.
Well, the general ordinance, the general ordinance that doesn't have a penalty, but Kathy said it refers over to a general penalty for all ordinances, which adds up to $100 and can be up to 3 days in jail, which makes it not a violation. So this way here, it's a civil, only a civil violation, like a parking ticket, as opposed to like a parking ticket.
Is that in the warden's court?
Yeah, we're gonna have one score, we're not on the record, but police will put it, couldn't make it the stolen arrest on a civil violation. Okay, we're on, like, think of it as if you're driving on the road, you're speeding as opposed to someone who's drunk driving. Speeding can only give us a ticket, and go on the way, the other thing is.
And we learned this on the rooms, and there was a number of things that all the
Just walking
walking on the room.
If it would happen, just for history, the reason the general ordinance has up to 3 days in jail is so that when we go way back, when we did drinking in public, we wanted to have the ability to take someone to the police station. So you could, take the police station, whatever it might be, and a violation, you couldn't really give a ticket. On that, we were able to make an arrest on it. So someone's drinking in public, boom, people see you get a car, you take them to the station, go, the optics, but you couldn't do that if it was a violation. So that's why that general ordinance kind of had that.
Oh, you make it more complicated. It was fun.
No. We just adopted, hold on, we have to re-adopt the one.
We just did.
We did? I thought we just did.
We just wanted to make the amendment.
That's all.
That's all we need, right? Kathy, we're all done?
Do you want to do it again?
No, I mean, I think so we reconsidered the ordinances for us. We moved an amendment to basically what amounted to a fresh ordinance. So that was that vote, was to add 7. Now we have to adopt the ordinance, because otherwise the ordinance hasn't been adopted.
Good catch.
Okay.
Sorry.
I will make a motion to adopt the amended emergency ordinance dated September 1st, 2021, regarding masks. Second amendment. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Martha?
Aye.
I'm in favor. Sven?
No.
In Mark?
No.
The motion will carry 3-0.
3-2.
3 to sorry. 3-2. Yes. To amend the ordinance. Motion to adjourn. Second by Mark, all those in favor? I'm in favor, Spencer, in favor, Martha?
Yes.
And
Then you want to ride?
Oh, I got my school.
Oh, good, just kidding.
thank you everybody for attending the council meeting of September 1st, 2021. I hope to see you on September 7th.
Not yet. Hold on one second.
Yeah, you should take your phone. I almost just put my computer in the bag. It's boring.
Oh, wait, it is wet. I did park very strategically.
I
I'll
always
look at
do.
you with the winter here.
Black pants.
You know, I was gonna say, at least I will pants tonight, not across.
My